Welcome! We're going to play detective today and try to piece together the puzzle of this massive, and let's be honest, kind of confusing global stock market rally. So, what is really going on here? Let's dig in and find out.
Everywhere you look, markets are just roaring higher, but you can feel it, right? Underneath all the excitement, there's this sense of nervousness. Like, is this for real? What's actually powering this thing? We're going to follow the clues to get to the bottom of it. All right, so our investigation kicks off in the United States, and our first clue is, surprisingly, pretty straightforward. The fundamentals are just really, really strong.
Okay, let's just start with the hard numbers. For the third quarter, companies in the S&P 500 are reporting year-over-year earnings growth of 9.2%. Now, that's not just good, it's a huge beat over the 7.9% that was expected. It tells you the economy is way healthier than the analysts were predicting.
And get this, it's not just a few big tech companies doing all the heavy lifting. A stunning 87% of companies have reported earnings per share that beat Wall Street's estimates. That's strength across the board.
And just to put that 87% number into perspective, this isn't just a good quarter, it is truly exceptional. As you can see from this chart, companies are outperforming at a rate that just blows the 5- and 10-year averages completely out of the water. It's not even close.
And here's where it gets really interesting. For the biggest names in tech, the Magnificent Seven, analysts were actually expecting a sharp slowdown. So the bar was set incredibly low, which made it way easier for them to come out and deliver a big positive surprise. And that's exactly what they did.
Okay, for our next clue, let's head over to Asia. There's a market over there that pretty much everyone had written off, and it is suddenly roaring back to life. Yep, we're talking about China. The change in attitude here is just incredible. Big investment banks like UBS are now calling Chinese tech their #1 favorite idea in the entire world. They're forecasting earnings growth of something like 37% by 2026. That's the fastest of any sector anywhere. So why all the excitement all of a sudden? Well, just look at the performance gap between US tech and Chinese tech. It's become this enormous chasm. And that sets the stage for a potentially massive catch-up trade as investors start hunting for the next big growth story.
Now, our final clue is maybe the most dramatic of all. It comes from South Korea, a market that often acts like the world's economic canary in the coal mine, right? It gives us this early warning signal of what might be coming next.
So to really get why this clue is so important, we have to talk about South Korea's Kospi Index. It's not just another stock market. You got to think of it as a powerful global bellwether.
See, because South Korea exports a ton of stuff, everything from semiconductors to cars. The Kospi gives us this real-time read on global demand. It's super sensitive to economic cycles, it's a magnet for foreign money, and more, it's a proxy for the entire global AI build-out. So what is this incredibly important global indicator screaming at us right now? The KOSP is up an absolutely astonishing 68% so far this year. No, that is not a typo. 68%. The scale of this move is just mind-boggling. The Korean market has left pretty much every other major theme in the dust, including the red-hot AI sector and the super strong US market. It's playing in a completely different league right now.
But this kind of extreme, vertical move has analysts sounding the alarm bells. Bank of America is pointing out that this is a major red flag, calling the Kospi one of the most stretched markets on the planet. Basically, a sign that things have gone way too far, way too fast, and the risk of a snapback is getting really high.
Okay, so let's put the pieces of the puzzle together. We've got our clues. Strong US fundamentals, a huge comeback in Chinese tech, and this supernova-like explosion in South Korea. So what's the common thread? What connects all of these?
Well, the verdict points to this powerful three-part engine. First, there's just massive amounts of liquidity, a flood of cash in the system. Second, investors have been super cautious, meaning a lot of people are on the sidelines. And third, like we saw, the fundamentals are genuinely solid.
So first things first, there is a tidal wave of cash out there just looking for a home. The global money supply has been on the rise for 22 straight months, and on top of that, corporations are buying back their own stock at a record pace. That is pure high-octane fuel for asset prices.
Second, and this is such a key point, most investors were not ready for this rally. Even with markets hitting all-time highs, sentiment is still pretty fearful, and this creates what traders call a wall of worry, which is the perfect setup for a market to keep climbing higher, because all those doubters are eventually forced to jump in.
And this brings us to the final, central question of our whole investigation. The clues we've gathered, they kind of point in two totally different directions. It's creating this classic bull versus bear showdown.
So, which is it? Is it the bear case, where these flashing red lights from markets like South Korea are screaming dangerous bubble? Or is it the bull case, where a super skeptical market with trillions in cash just sitting there provides the fuel for the next big leg up?
You know, history shows us that we humans tend to underestimate how far and how fast markets can move when these kinds of conditions line up. Now, no two time periods are ever the same, of course, but this unique mix of strong fundamentals and really deep skepticism, it definitely has some echoes of past market melt-ups, those sharp, sudden rallies, like the one we saw back in 1999.
And that really leaves us with the final, pretty provocative question. Are we just looking at a healthy rally, climbing that classic wall of worry, or are we in the early stages of something way more explosive, a historic 1999-style melt-up that's just getting warmed up? That's the billion-dollar puzzle to think about.